Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL Pro League, where we have our first matchup of the day. It's going to be Immortals taking on CLG. We'll be starting off here on Cobblestone. My name is Blue. Joining me here once again today is going to be Launders. Launders, what do we make of this match as we get ready to jump right into it?
What's going on, man? It should be a really weird game just because CLG is a new team. They've got, they looked so good yesterday, just unlike we've kind of ever seen them before. You have to imagine a lot of that has to do with Ryu. You imagine he's having some impact. Yeah, all the calls looked like on point. They were really organized on cash. And just as James mentioned, there's no way that you can fluke a 16-4 versus SK, no matter how bad they're playing. We did talk about how preparation can get you so much out of a game that even if you're not playing well individually, that you can still account for enough rounds that you can say, okay, you're good at the map. And CLG just raffle stomped them. So the fact that they're able to do that shows they're like on a new level. Immortals are a team that have beat them like the last 15 times in a row or whatever, but this is not the same lineup. And the three players who have a lot of animosity with the players on CLG, or like maybe one or whatever, aren't on the team anymore. And those players also happen to be very good. So there are big shoes to fill, a lot of coordination to make up for. And I don't know if CLG or if Immortals are up to the task, but I still think they'll make it more competitive, even more competitive, because it's Cbble, a more familiar map than Cash was for SK.
Yeah, and again, guys, for you folks at home that might have missed the pre-show, just to give you one quick refresher as far as what the actual Immortals roster is. Obviously, it's still Steel and Bolts, but then we have SHZ and Destiny coming in from Tempo Storm BR, and what eventually will be Horvey, but for tonight is going to be Zach, as I think Horvey is still sorting out how exactly he's going to get to the US, and playing from Brazil obviously is not really, doable from Brazil itself, so
yeah.
it'd be like easily 150 to 200 ping, so it's just not workable. So they're going to have Zach.
Was it KNG subbed in and had like bottom frag both maps or something?
Yeah, it was,
which would normally never happen. Good player.
Safe to say. But yeah, I mean, CLG showed some really great stuff on cashers. They really clean executes, really good utility usage as well. Really just great improvement across the board. And that's a really good individual plays too, specifically from Ethan. I think had a really good first map back on cash yesterday. And this map on Cobblestone, this has usually been a map that CLG has always tended to favor towards and generally like to play on, even with this newer roster coming into the fold now. So I feel like they have a pretty good chance to take this first map here against the Immortals, considering the fact that they're basically brand new and having to start from scratch.
There are some maps that are very interesting because you need to gain a certain amount of map control before you can have a safe execute or good amount of execute. In Cbble, you have so much territory given to you as a terrorist to go and set up, just wait patiently, not really have to watch stuff, and that's behind the long V smoke in that whole area. There's tons of room there to set up up to 5 smokes and allow for very executes that you could take from any team in the world. And as long as you learned kind of what they watch as they come out, you could take those executes and use them on your own team. There isn't a lot to do. There aren't very many nuanced things that you have to worry about like you would on other maps when you have to go for map control. They have to do coordinated and stuff like that. So I think there's a level of comfortability for any team on T side as long as they do have 1 or 2 B side executes. Sometimes 1 or 2 B side executes can be enough to pull you through an entire half, because not only will 1 B-side execute, if it's successful, be enough to pull you in a couple of rifle rounds, it's still up to the other team to try to adjust. And if they don't know what's happening, sometimes they don't figure out how to adjust. And if you look at an entire half, you only have 4 or 5 rifle rounds. A lot of people forget that. 15 rounds, you maybe only have 4 or 5. So if they do go B every single one of those times, they have 2 executes. They can work twice each time. That's like a solid half overall if you add in the ecos as well.
Yeah, it's just about figuring out what you could do with those ecos to try to make sure you're keeping the damage on, keeping the pressure on, and maybe even getting a few upsets in there as well. As those happen quite often, especially with the CZ coming back into the fold. We tend to see quite a few eco upsets happening way more often than we used to. You look like 3-4 months back, it doesn't happen as much there.
Yeah, CZ is, I love the gun. Well, I don't ever use the Tech 9 ever again.
I don't think anybody will.
No, I don't think anyone will. Maybe some trolls. There's the dualies coming back into full effect. We saw the clip from Cirque. Apparently there's a Get Right uses the dualies.
Well, they lowered the buy value, I think, in the most recent patch.
As in, they lowered the amount of money you get for killing people, or the...
Is it? What is that? What they changed?
Cost of it? $100 cheaper.
It's $100 cheaper. Yeah.
That's a deal. I mean, you could down payment on a gold watch. There's a lot of things you could do with $100.
All right, guys, well, it does look like we are going live with the match, so let's jump into the map itself. We'll go full screen here and take a look at things, as Immortals is going to be starting off on offense here for the T side. CLG will be jumping onto defense here for the CT side. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We get to see Destiny and Shiz are probably shaking in their boots right now, looking at an opportunity to really prove themselves on a team that is a step up from their roster.
Starting it off, Kusta is going to play very forward. He is getting tagged quite a bit through the door, but it's Steel that runs him over when they end up coming through the connector itself. The rest of the CT is trying to defend. Ricky will have a very early flank lined up here as he was positioned at A long, and Immortals really didn't use that at all. And Ricky, nicely done. Just the fadeaway shot through the door. He'll take out Zach from the equation here. But regardless, Immortals will get up to the site. Cutler has an opportunity to try and stop this push inside a window, but he doesn't realize it until it's too late. Bolts will be able to push back in, takes him out of the picture. SHZ was also able to find Ricky. Ethan, though, trading back with a double kill, evens it back out into a fight. He might have seen the shadow of the player behind APC before he got completely behind it, which means that Steel might not be as safe as he thinks he is. FNS rolls out, gets the kill, and now it's just Destiny, who doesn't have a whole lot of real estate to work with. Gets a nice dink on FNS to bring him down to just 2 HP, finishes it off, but Ethan trades, and with a 3K, he'll clutch out the pistol for CLG.
You could see with the spacing there that they did the best job possible of closing in on his angle without giving him a way to get one kill and then another. Ultimately, with 2 players coming in and he has this small angle on default to work with, he can kind of separate his fights a bit, and you can see he got the first kill because of it, so there was an opportunity there, but in terms of playing 2v1s, that was one of the best possible ways they could have made sure that they closed it out. So it was good that they went through like this route of rat hole and through the site and look for fights together, and then on the way ended up trading favorably and then getting onto the site and getting that 2v1 to close it out. I think Kusa just ate his own flash.
Unfortunately, he did. And Destiny, as a result of that, was able to not completely kill Kusta, but he did tag him, and he just got hit by something else as well. So suffering from 40 damage right at the start of this round here. Not going to be the best start for him, but thankfully, there's still plenty of opportunities for make up for that, with Immortals still sitting on just an upgraded pistol around here for the most part. They did manage to get the plant, so they have that extra money rolling in. I think I'll look to the 3rd round bye.
Always good on A site when you can get up to these close-up angles to play them. Actually, it's CLG who have the advantage, so there's something to be said about the fact that they're doing this with better guns, but those guns are also SMGs, so they should still win, no problem. There is 4 players stationed up at B. No actual utility to go off of this, so they might be waiting for something contact or just go in between a smoke refresh or something like that so they can catch at least one person off guard.
Yeah, they do have everybody lined up now on this platform approach for the most part. Probably going to have one player. Looks like Zach splitting off and going into drop, but for the other 4, it is going to be a straightforward push, and they're getting ready for it here now. But Molly will go on the ground. That's going to do some great primer damage onto at least one of them as they go in. Ethan will be the one to strike first, taking down SHZ. The rest, well, unfortunately, probably are not going to look to get a whole lot done here, as we do see them getting pretty much shut down. 3 dead already. 1 with an opportunity to get a kill as he pushes up through Sidewalk, but ultimately, Ricky will take him down, and FNS will finish up the job.
Making it look really easy with that hold, and they played far back. They didn't bother testing along B on the plat whatsoever. Immortals spent a lot of time on the plat, so if there was one person up there, most likely would have gotten killed. That means CLG did the right thing, played it safely, and they did a great job of putting a lot of those kills into the SMGs, which is resulting in a bigger and better, more bolstered economy moving into round 3. We have a buy-up from Immortals, all AKs, a few smokes, no Molotovs to use. Not the biggest deal in the world. Sometimes on B you'd use like a tree Molotov or maybe one to complement a B-side execute at Chicken Coop or Pizza, but and very often you can kind of skip it. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It feels like on almost every map we talk about how like utility is so important on this map. But there are some maps that really demand that you have like a lot of more Molotovs, for example.
Yeah.
In particular.
Just because there's so many more spots that he's behind, and you really can't brute force them out of that, so you kind of need the mollies just to get him out of those positions. Otherwise, you basically just have to risk your life in doing that. Other sites are a little bit more open, so that's not necessarily as big of an issue. But starting it off here, Immortals are going to move in and take quick drop control. They managed to push 2 players inside of there. They're not going to keep 2, as you can see they're counter boosting back over the top. And it's going to be Steel that'll retreat further back into the B hulls with the rest of his team. We're still winning there. Very similar lineup to the last round. Obviously, they have more utilities, so they're able to take that drop control a bit earlier this time. But still going to line up to go for this hit, as CLG have 3 players here ready to hold it off. Still primarily working with SMGs, but they're going to strike first, as FNS is able to take down SHZ. Now the rest of the team moves in. The one rifle they do have sits up on top of the boost-up spot here. It's going to be able to get 1 kill before now finally seeing Immortals strike with their own first kill here, as Zach will be able to take down Ricky. Unfortunately, they're struggling to get away from this platform, and Kusta with a nice headshot there. Long range, gets a second one too as he takes down Zach. And unfortunately, it's all now down to Bolts here for Immortals, as he's left alone in a 1v4. He's executed one of them to bring it down to 3, but still a whole lot of work to do. He does have the bomb, but he only has 15 seconds left to plant and no additional utility. So basically just fragging out here. He's going to force the plant, see if he can get onto the ground before he gets pushed, but won't happen. Ethan takes him out, and it's CLG with quick control.
A little depressing to see them putter to a halt there on the full B execute.
Yeah.
It always sucks to see that. And as a team, you're like, we could have maybe moved faster. Maybe I could have been the guy to move faster. And sometimes with a new team, that kind of chemistry isn't just there when you try to do something straight up like a full B hit. But the explosiveness is so key on a hit like that you know, if you're missing the players that gave you that, someone else has to pick up that slack and get out there first, create space for their team, go for that entry, be very aggressive, and skip some angles.
Kusta, once again, striking with a nice shot there, is able to trace Zach back through the doors. It goes away. However, Bolt's pushing out to platform. He finds Ethan, taking him down. Kusta knows there's going to be additional pressure here at the door, so he does decide to challenge it. The problem is he's getting low on ammo there. Cutler comes in just in time to bail Kusta out, however, as he takes one kill, and Kusta adds another one to the counter. The quick switch over to the USP. It's quickly down to just Bolt's left alive, who found that frag earlier on Ethan, but that's it. He's now lost the bomb. He goes hunting for another headshot, but Cutler will take him down as CLG claim a quick fourth.
Let's see, one alive, or one killed from Immortals, another buyout for Immortals. CLG's economy looking great. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even upgrade these UMPs. Again, high armor pen on the UMPs, very fun gun to have, because you know you can take some risks, but you're not also that valuable. You're also only giving up a UMP if the worst case scenario happens and you end up dying. So you can just keep building that economy. There's a lot of spots on CT side of Cbble where you can use cheap guns, and they're actually better sometimes than straight up rifles like drop, where if you have a close-up angle in E-box, if you have a shotgun, sometimes that's better than even having a rifle because it literally kills faster. So very unique map in that regard. Let's see, I'm not sure how they're using Ethan here. He's actually up at long B, so close angles there are the broken wall. If they do molly him out, he's got a little bit of trouble, but that's only if he jumps up on plat. And the situation, again, can be very aggressive and not feel like he's risking all that much.
Yeah, just going to be the contact player, and considering that they've had that UMP in their arsenal for this long too, it's really not going to be too big of a deal if he ends up going down with it, considering the money that these CTs have already been able to build up over just the course of the 4 rounds that they've won now. Immortals, obviously seeing a much slower paced version of them now with this new team trying to form itself together. They do go in and take quick, long control over there towards A. CLG aren't really going to be resisting it all that much, but they'll quickly give it up. We fall back over here to the B halls again as they get ready to roll out onto the site for an execute. CLG still with 2 stacked on A. We'll have to look to quickly rotate, and they even have 1 inside of the site connector too, so FNS being wedged between leaves the site itself relatively vulnerable with only Ethan and Ricky to defend it. But as they go out, first flash will connect onto these players on the backside, and SHZ pushes forward to get the first kill as he takes it away. It's Destiny that leads the charge, however, and he gets the second kill. They claim a third too, but Kusta now striking back, leaves this down to a 3v2, scratch that, a 3v1, however, Zach is going to be able to take down Kusta inside of the windowsill. As he spots him trying to pick off any remaining players inside of drop. Cutler, unfortunately, is not left with much that he can do. He could go to pick up that op and save it, but at the moment he's sticking around, I think trying to get at least a couple more kills before he falls back here.
Cutler, I don't know if he'll be offered up any kills. Doesn't seem like anyone's going to overpeak in this situation. So from here, no smoke, no Molotov. He definitely, I mean, he could die and do damage, and Immortals would be perpetually one away from a save. So it kind of is worth it from our perspective to try to do damage, considering how much money you can see that Cutler and CLG as a team have in total. There's a kill. That's a big deal.
Yeah, we can still go pick up the op too.
Yeah, it's a pick up an op too. Kind of a mistake there from Zach to exit from a different choke point as the rest of his teammates, but because he was in drop, maybe didn't feel comfortable coming out of E-box, as no one had vision on rock. But that being said, it was good that Cutler waited that long when typically some people would just run. But standing his ground is a result of him knowing that he has so much money to work with. Now they have 2 ops in the hands of CLG. Immortals have a tough round here. They did lose 3 people, which is rough for their economy. You can see those 3 people don't have nades, and now they have to win a round just to make sure that they can buy 2 times in a row if they lose.
And CLG potentially going to be posturing up to get a little bit more aggressive here now. They do have the liberty of the double up set up to play with Kusta specifically over here towards the broken wall this time. And Ethan's still playing close up to it, but Kusta's going to be there for quick support, and they're going to need that, as it looks like Immortals are going out for a quick explosion, and it's a great timing on the flash. Kusta's completely blind, given time to recover, however, hits the double kill, as does his teammate, and finishes it off with a third to close out quickly for CLG.
Oh my. Oh my, that was quick.
Smooth.
And yeah, you could see just as his vision was coming back, one player peeks right into his angle, doesn't kill him right away, and he realizes as soon as Kusta turns his body, his player model moves and then op swings to the right, he's dead. And he realizes, damn it, I needed to hit that headshot. And then you see the kill feed, and you're like, I just got 2 of my teammates killed as well, just because of this one frag. And that's what an execute can come down to. They did go for that fast speed once again. Again, it's a really easy play to do that works versus almost anybody as long as you hit your shots. So we saw it last round. They used it off 2 flashes, not even have set smokes. Here they do shy Kusta away without him getting a kill at all, but he's staying aggressive, and Destiny peeks right under his scope.
And he gets a second kill, too, on the way in here, so that's a nice clear from Immortals. Not only that, but remember, they're working with 3 players on pistols in this round, so these are some big upgrades, and Zach is going to be able to use one of them to now punish the site defender. FNS goes down, and that's a save call from CLG. Ethan and Ricky both falling back. Immortals, nicely done. They quickly frag their way back, and having at least a little bit of control here.
We can see that they actually have no money left over, or no utility left over. So actually keeping 2 alive off the back of 2 entries. And this is why we saw that like famous nip buy where one person would get an AK if they had the money and everybody else would get armor or pistol. And you can put that AK up front, and because on T side you stay together, if you want to hit a site like long B on Cbble, then if that first person goes out and he gets those 2 frags, you don't even have to recycle the gun. He can just literally win the round. So very often if you get the kill early enough, the other team will just save in spite of whatever else they see. Just knowing that they forfeited the bomb site, the choke points are now impossible to rotate into, and their 2 teammates died without getting a kill. So that was nice. They actually dry peek long, and it seemed like Kusta should have 100% won that duel. And maybe that is redemption for the fact that he was able to get away with that 3K last round. Yeah. But great round for Immortals. They have so much money now, and CLG are actually having their bank tested a bit, but they still have enough funds to buy a couple more.
Gonna be good for this rebuy. They could probably force one after it too. It's after that we'll see them getting broken. You can see on the replay there, Destiny going in with those key entries, and then Zach seals it off with the 3rd kill. But with the 2 saves for CLG, they're still in good condition, as you can see. Up on Ricky, not on Kusa, interestingly enough there, as he's going to keep the AK in hand. But the other 3 are able to fully buy up their M4s. Everybody gets full utility here too. They'll get their chance another full gun round here to redeem themselves after a bit of a slip-up on that last round. And starting it off is pretty much the same lineup for the Immortals, a bit heavy towards outside this time. But Kusta, same as before, is going to be close up in that connector to try and challenge it, as the rest of Immortals look like to be bypassing that mid connector, at least early on here. And we'll adventure over here towards A long instead.
I wonder what is their go-to setup, because Kusta switched from B to A. He was at long, and he was at long A and long B, and it might have been because the op on Ricky last round that he wanted to play B as the primary. But I wonder what their comfort zone is. Here's a boost over the smoke, and they can actually see people crossing. They had the opportunity there for 1. I think Zach might have heard somebody drop, and that means that this angle could be cleared. But they also have a crossfire. There it is. The molly goes out, and Kusta drops the smoke. He also won't cross because they're just going to try to spam him running away. Cutler could help him exit in the situation, but... Oh, that's one way to help him. Oh my god.
Bit of a challenge there, as thankfully both sides miss, so we won't see either team getting punished in that situation for right now. With 40 seconds remaining on the clock here, Immortals do need to start moving in for a little bit more control, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Quickly, all in onto the A bomb site here. Cutler seems unfamiliar as to what exactly the situation is, but Kusta thankfully is able to double kill. His teammate over here just barely surviving. FS at 20 HP claims a second on this round, leaving only Bolts alive in a 1v3 with 20 seconds left to plant, and still having to deal with a player up on platform. He knows it, however, so he's being cautious of that, and the smoke from the CTs actually helps him out a little bit, but mistimes his little look to the left there, and FNS will be able to freely peek, take him down, and CLG will once again secure their advantage.
Super strange round because Kusta stays in the spot the entire time, and they don't clear him. They assume that he left, but I guess they didn't know that it was Kusta in that corner and thought that Cutler was the one that peeked out from the right side of the door, when in fact there was actually 2 people there. FNS also played a huge role in that round because he held down long when, if there were 2 players lower A and they couldn't rotate up, if T players came out long, they could have peeked down the ramp and killed them. So FNS did a great job of kiting them, staying alive, doing a little bit of damage, making them realize that they can't just take the site for free.
And Bolts will try to go for just a bit of a dry peek this time. Didn't have much to support it. Quickly shut down by Ricky. Too much of a surprise to see that fry going on here, but they left long A completely open. So Destiny is able to sneak all the way up here, and that is going to start to lure some of the other players from the B halls back in this direction towards A. If he is able to go all the way in and Cutler does not spot him, then he could be a dead man. This could be an open A site relatively quickly, and there you go, right there. Cutler getting tagged, only for 25 HP about, but still isolates him into a very abusable position. That is going to call for CT rotates in order to try to make that situation a little better. As you can see, Destiny now getting some fire back against him, but they are still pressuring into B a little bit, as we can see Zach trying to lurk into the site. A 1-for-1 trade will occur back over at A, but Zach actually hits that entry on Ethan here. So both sides really are an option for these Ts at this point. CLG might have overplayed their hand a little bit, and now with Steel cleaning up on FNS, it's just Ricky left alive here in the B bomb site. As the Immortals are going to be able to get a clean plant. Zach just trying to figure out where exactly Ricky is playing from here. As he swings out, tries to shut it down, will succeed in that. but still would have to deal with a 1v2 on retake from the other side of the map. And it's highly unlikely that he's going to go for that. More than likely, we'll just camp out here and save that op.
Even with that much time, Ricky feels uncomfortable running to A. It's not that long of a rotation. Probably could have gone for it, actually, but has the op that he wants to save. They've lost another round. That was kind of strange. Like, they shouldn't have lost that round. I feel like it seemed like it was Immortals doing a great job of putting pressure on all these choke points, but they also were so spread thin that the CTs had a great advantage in each of those fights, and yet they fell apart on all fronts. So a lot of bad things to say about CLG's hold in that round, and like the fact that Zach was able to get that kill as he was running sprayed out long B and then just adjusted his aim. It's like mechanical failure there. Hard to say that like Immortals should look at the round and be like, or CLG should look at the round and be like, all right, our setup was bad, because they definitely probably missed a lot of shots that they should have hit, or would only blame themselves for missing.
So this continues to be a bit of a back and forth battle here in the mid portion of the half. At the moment, CLG obviously still controlling things though, since they did win the initial volley here to control the pistol. But they're getting back onto this full buy here. Even after that loss was still double op setup to be seen. Kusta and Ricky still picking it up with M4s for the rest. Utility is going to be diminished a little bit, but not to a huge degree. They still definitely have a full buy. Immortals with the same suite, however, on the T side, just minus that op. They're going to be working with 5 AKs instead. And Immortals will also move a lot quicker into that mid connector this time. Once again, using Destiny as their front runner here. He's even going to go past the smoke into suicide steps. Gets in there unscathed for now, but Cutler is watching the exit to it. So he's going to have to be careful. So we're going to check out that crow's nest on the top side. I would assume he'd check it, considering they know he's going to be in here. But no, he doesn't look towards it at all. So Cutler just starts it off with a free kill. And Zacher, someone else over here towards A long, will have to look to get some revenge for that.
I wonder why he smoked that. I guess so Cutler can... Okay, so they can just... Yeah, I mean, he has the op. They don't know the op is there. He could have just held on to that for a lot longer. And Cutler would have been in a weird spot. I mean, I guess he'd have to worry about getting Cutler out of there after he took a shot, maybe, but... Yeah, I mean, they've got the 5v4, so anything they want to do passive, it's hard to argue against.
Yeah.
Now it's Immortals to look for plan B at B. Long B control, and maybe they do that one rush strat where they just flash out shallow and then flash over and start running. They did this from so far away last time, I didn't understand how it would work, and yeah, they're doing it again. So
as they go in, everybody would have recovered from the flash by this point. Anyway, Ricky taking down Zach, trying to go for a second, at the very least giving intel out to his teammate. Oh, nice control from Ethan, a quick triple kill from him. And it's another round for CLG.
That was sick. That was sick. I mean, he probably could have just let his recoil reset, but he was so confident that he could hit that. That was definitely really tough. Like the second kill here, just that first one, and then, you know, doesn't have to move his crosshair much. Wow. Hit 3 or 4 bullets. That was beautiful. But that long B rush, it's pretty suspect just because of like how far back they're flashing from, and then how much time they spend running, how much time the team has to recover from the flashes, just as you mentioned, and for them to still be able to get out.
Oh, Nakusta getting a nice start here with a double, a triple as well. Now it becomes as he fires off and gets that third shot. Cutler will move in to close out. Fortunately, Immortals, these rushed / all-in strats just aren't working for them and get shut down continuously by CLG. And it only serves really to replenish CLG's economy. Immortals get close to breaking it, but then they constantly have rounds like that. It's like the 4th or 5th time we've seen just a shutdown round like that happen, and it just serves to replenish the CT economy every time.
Yeah, very important to notice, first of all, and yeah, huge for CLG that they get to bolster their economy because the CT side is so much more expensive. You can never have too many units on CT side as opposed to T side on this map, so it makes it even more difficult. And then Immortals aren't able to do any damage whatsoever, apart from also losing all of their players. So.
So Ethan is going to start things off with a strong kill for his own regard again. He does get dinked and brought down to 16 HP. Getting that kill, so he'll get pushed back, but still, it's an advantage. And Zach thinks he's being sneaky going down drop there, but Cutler is going to spot that coming, so he's going to be able to take him out of the play. And now Ethan gets ready to shut down what is probably going to be the remaining amount of these players, at least 2 of them. One more does decide to go down towards drop. They know they're pushing in towards platform. The nade's going to chase Steel further back into those B halls. He will swing out, seeing if he can get at least a headshot going here to knock out one of these players. Close, but no cigar, as Cutler does indeed shut him down. And once again, CLG win it with all 5 alive.
Yeah, simple stuff, good cleanup, and because of the double save, it puts Immortal in such a tricky spot where they know they're going to have to play the rest of the half out versus full-on rifle rounds. We saw in that previous anti-eco, they just decided to do their pistol round where they ran up A all through lower A. You know, anything more complicated than that doesn't seem to work out too well for Immortals. They did win one of their rounds with a default, but it didn't seem like they should have. It just seemed like CLG had control of that round for the most part. So for Immortals, if I'm them, I'm not looking back to that one as an example of how to sustainably do it again. I like this. Keep it simple. Olaf smoke, bait some nades out at B. I would honestly just try to hit B really hard. And they have all the smokes to do it if they want.
So they still keep a few players on the outside there, so they're going to probably need to group these guys up, but they do want to try to commit to this all-in towards B again. Obviously with, as you were saying, bigger smokes and just a better setup overall here instead of just flashing and rushing in while leaving your opponents enough time to recover from that. It looks like the CLG might actually try to get a little bit aggressive here themselves. They flash over. It's great, too. Completely blinds Bolts. He ducks in time, but Kusta finds the shot through the box anyway. Zach will be there for the trade at the very least, and now they get ready to pick up a few more kills as they go in. Zach currently keeping Immortals alive just on his own as he trades out at least 2 of those kills, so brings it down to a 2v3. CLG still very much in control of the B bomb site, but they do back out, giving Immortals room to go in and go for the plant.
I really don't understand why Ethan would like completely abandon the site in that situation. I mean, I know he doesn't want to die. Probably would have got fleshed out of pizza too, so maybe it makes more sense. But you know, I always am a bigger fan of at least if you have the site to find a safe spot within the site, so that this can't happen. Where now a choke point is really hard to retake. When they did have the man advantage as well, so they can't escort anyone in. They've got to basically retake from outside as if they were all A players. But on the bright side, Ethan's still alive.
Zach is also checking for that flank that's going to be coming in from platform 2, so they will suspect that as they jump in. Ricky hits the shot. SHZ will be able to trade. Excuse me, it's SHZ, not Zach holding up here as he gets the double kill and now looks for one more here to take down Ricky and close it out. Can he do it? No. Ricky will shut things down, and I believe he leaves himself just enough time to defuse that bomb and put CLG up the double digits here now.
Okay, they won the round, but like that exact problem where he was at the door, Ricky had to jump through the door and no-scope somebody on the right side of it. They didn't even have a strategy for clearing that out safely. They just hoped that he was nuts. And as we all know, Ricky knows karate, so he came out with the spinning kick, which I'm not even sure if that's a karate move or not, but I would assume it was part of his training. So
the karate's more like stances. And
maybe it was taekwondo.
Yeah, that sounds more right.
Young Hao Rang.
Well, Immortals are just going to basically rush B this time to see how they can make this take work. They've at least used flashes before to do this, but this time a straight-up rush actually works out a little bit better for them as they get 3 or 4 players into drop. They get that nice control going. And with that, they're now going to counter boost back the other side so they can re-entry from the other end. The problem is they did lose their one and only player on platform. Bolts goes down there. So this drop control is great, but the remaining question is
Zach's not standing
what
up.
are they going to do with it as they do try to survive this Molotov onslaught here by stacking on top of the pallet. It does work, but it also leaves room for FNS to push back in. SHZ and Steel trade both of those kills back, though, so all of a sudden we're even again, down to a 3v3. Neither team having the advantage right now, but CLG still having site control. Oh, that was almost all right on point. Steel still very low regardless, and Ricky's going to push right in. The no-scope against Steel. Still partially through the wall, takes him out of the picture, and that's the B side clear now, so it's only A they have to worry about here. They're obviously yet to realize that due to how quickly that drop play came in, so they're still going to be a little bit worried about B pressure. Now Kusta will have to sit back, see if he can pull this off on his own.
No,
and
come on,
through the smoke, takes out Destiny, completely blinded by it. SHZ now alone here, going to try to clutch this out 1v3. He does have the bomb, thankfully, but only 30 seconds left to do it. And Ethan will come in from the backside to stop Ryu getting close to it.
What a clown fiesta that round was. CLG try to retake drop, end up losing all their players, even though they're like literally in the process of boosting and messing up the boost and probably yelling at each other over comms because Zach forgot to stand up or didn't realize his second teammate was on his head, even though he had to get the third person up after. So and they ended up losing. If they had two, this is what the Tyloo I think were doing a lot, which was really cool on the retakes drops. They would save 2 Molotovs, let people drop. If there's 3 people in there, they would just molly out E-Box and the inside of drop and then push in because like you're screwed at that point. Yeah. Molotovs cover everything really.
So Immortals on this last round of the half here, unfortunately don't leave themselves a whole lot of extra money for utility. They are still able to get 5 rifles at least, so full buy for them to try and play with, but Ricky with the op in hand already challenging towards drop a little bit here. Doesn't mess up that nade. Not a big deal, as Immortals aren't really having a lot of presence towards the drop room anyway, let alone the B site, which is going to change now as they're rotating a lot of their guys over from outside of mid connector here, but Ricky kills Zach, so down will go the drop pressure, at least for now, until these other 4 can rotate in. And we're going to see it reignited a little bit. Looks like Steel's going to go towards drop. In fact, I think everyone is going to, except for Bolts, everyone except for Bolts is going to push over here towards drop to take that quick control. And then they'll move out to try and pinch towards B, at the very least bypassing some of the heavier control. And good flash. Connects on FNS, but Ethan's still alive and well sitting in the cubby here. Swings around here, gets that first kill, looking for more. Right on the edge of the corner. He's doing good damage, but unfortunately not enough to claim a second kill. Destiny will take him down, but the flashes thrown against these remaining Ts do hold them back quite a bit. However, Steel still Still inside of the drop room. He turns around, however, so that, ooh, I thought it was going to leave room for Ricky to impact, but apparently not, as Destiny quickly shuts him down anyway. Kusta comes in for the quick trade, re-evening out the manpower once again, down to a 2v2. But as Kusta pushes back in, he needs to check this corner. He predicts it, however, spotting Steel in the corner, taking him down, and now leaving only SHZ alive to clutch. Again, with 15 seconds left, we've seen this situation all too often for Immortals in this half, but SHZ is going to bust out, gets the quick first kill. Now he needs to fall back and go for the plant. He knows he's got his opponent right behind the door there, but he does need to prioritize the plant, given the timer. He'll go for that. Kusta will push forward up to the rock, and now he's ready to take this duel. It'll become straight up 1v1 to win it out, and see if we can at least get a 4th round of the board for Immortals to close out on the half. The name goes back, doesn't do all that much, but SHZ still failing to connect any shots, so Kusta's just going to walk right out, go for the crossover to the boost-up box. SHZ knows about it, but upon peeking him, we're going to see a miss from Kusta, and that'll seal the deal. Allows SHZ to fully peek, take him down, and secure a 4th for the Immortals, and that will close out the first half, ladies and gentlemen. So do stick with us. We'll be back in just a couple of moments to see if Immortals can potentially swing this comeback.
ESL Pro League is brought to you in part by Intel, the City of Odense, GeForce GTX, Lenovo Legion, Bedway, Pay Safeguard, Logitech G, Mountain Dew League, Xfinity, and ESEA.
Well, welcome back again here, folks, to the ESL Pro League. We are in the midst of our first match this evening between CLG and the new Immortals roster. Whether we know if this is going to be a long-term thing or a short-term thing is yet to be seen, but it is very clear that this is a new roster and they haven't had a whole lot of time to kind of get their strats and stuff together, as unfortunately that was kind of a very straightforward and one-dimensional T side for them to start a pair on Cbble.
Still a better love story than Twilight.
Yeah, that's, I guess so, yeah. So, I mean, at least we see like some good entry power coming, specifically from Destiny, who had a couple really good rounds towards like A-Long, where he was able to burst through and like just completely win out rounds just on his entries alone and things like that. But from a strategical perspective, almost nothing worked for them, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's good about Cbble, is that you can rely on like really simple stuff to get you through a half, as we kind of talked about in the beginning of the map. And the 2 rounds they won, one was like 2 Rayful rounds they won, one was Destiny just straight up beast moding long A by himself. 2 entries, 3 people safe. And then the other round was a really weird, dry run out long B and a heavy reliance on those rifle kills. No smokes to support, no flashes or anything like that. And it got messy because they didn't have those follow-up smokes to help them seal off the choke points once they got in. But there was a lot to say about the fact that they could get away with some of that simple stuff. And I think we needed more of that a little bit. And they also got that really fortunate round where they had a default that worked out really well. But overall, CLG did a great job holding on. There was some weird stuff too, like Ricky was playing drop with an op. And doing a great job too, mind you. So that can be very, very annoying to deal with when you're trying to think like from the most simple terms, like how do we figure this out?
I think at a certain point for CLG, they kind of realized they had like really good control over these rounds. They would have started to kind of experiment with things a little bit, or just have a little bit of fun, as we were starting to see some trick shots coming out from I believe it was Ricky or Ethan there too. So they were really in control of things in the first half. And now we're going to see if they can keep it that way as they jump onto the T side themselves. And they're going to quickly flood out here, taking full control of B with 0 resistance from the Immortals, as they're trying to play a 5v5 retake on B, it would seem.
This is really funny. I think Fallen would have something to say about this.
As they go in, the initial portion of the backside is actually very easy for them to retake, as CLG didn't push very far forward. The problem is they have great drop control at Kusta. Turns out 2 of the kills they did manage to find. Ricky's going to chime with a 3rd here now. bringing CLG into an advantage position. They'll look to trade that, but not going to happen. Ricky strikes for a second time, takes out Steel, leaving only Bolts in the equation in a 1v3 here now. He's stuck behind the boost-up box, no position to play with. He currently does not have a kit. There's probably one on the ground somewhere near him, but that doesn't matter much when he can't get any shots against these remaining 3 CLG members. So eventually FNS comes out from Chicken Coop, closes out on Bolts, and wins the round for CLG.
So what side is easier to retake on Cbble?
I would say A, personally, if you're like have even guns and stuff.
Yeah, that's why you can play at like 1A, right?
Yeah.
Fallen was talking about a strategy where they had 5 people play B, and I was like, before an interview I did with him at the major in Columbus, which he won, by the way. Really good player. But he talked about how on Cbble it was like not a new map, but like a newer map, and talk about innovating on the map, and talk about how he could play like you could play no one at A, potentially have smokes to come in for the retake. But on B, it's like impossible to smoke for the retake. It's very, very difficult. You could throw one smoke from A for long B, but apart from that, there's just so many great angles to work with on the site that you don't really want to give it up before you defend it. So there we can see why that was a problem. Much too easy for CLG to close that out. And now, Immortals on the back foot, as they have been since the first half, have a 5 armor buy, all CZ'd up.
For Immortals, they're going to be looking to hold off with these CZs here now. SHZ is going to be first up to bat. Unfortunately, it doesn't come out on top, and Ethan go for the long-range spray. Does connect about 80 damage on a Destiny. However, no kill, but it does give intel at very least. Steel will go 2 for 1, actually, as he managed to take down Kusta and Ricky. Problem is he's now the only one on this site, as they have taken down the other 3 players that were here defending it. We do have a rotate for Bolts and Steel. Oh my god, another double kill from him, as is now, it's all going to be on Ethan. Sitting on the back site, quickly changing his position, and that's a nice shot at long range. Takes down Steel, brings it back down to a 1v1, and I think he spotted Bolts there, so he's going to know he's sitting inside a drop room, tries to spam it, but Bolts picks up the AK and wins it out for the Immortals.
Inside the mind of Ethan. What was he thinking there? And not saying that because I'm doubting his decision-making, but what was his strategy? Was it to push him out of E-Box into the site, and that's why how he's going to catch him off guard? Did you think that as the molly was being thrown, that was a great opportunity to run out into the site, and he could catch him holding W? That, I think, must have been the strategy, but he could have also used that Molotov to get himself a plant for sure, and now CLG are saving. They have a lot of armor, and it was a 1v1, so you can see why it's a tantalizing idea to think about trying to buy early to mess up the economy of the other team. Also can help with retaining some of that momentum they had coming out of the pistol round, but Immortals, off the back of Steel and a very nice 180 and 2 kills, were able to seal up an eco round that they had no business winning.
Zach Hilly's going to be holding off back over here behind the Archer's position in A long. Unfortunately, the flashbang puts him into a very bad spot, as we also see Pushes coming back into the mid connector there. He's going to isolate him, and that's a bit unfortunate.
He could think for 3 damage.
As he gets staked through the door for 3 damage. Which is
that's wrong. You know, that shouldn't happen, because he thinks this guy's hurt. You know, he thinks this guy has brain damage. He doesn't have brain damage. He's doing perfectly fine. 200 IQ still.
So that will happen, as that door is apparently made of steel, and it just won't catch anything at all here now. Bolt's still very much alive. CLG splitting their players up across the map. 3 still going towards drop or platform on B, however, and it looks like they are going to try to A-split here, driving a wedge in between the defenders. It's actually a nice flash as it pops over. The problem is it did not connect at all, so Bolts, he's ready to defend this here. Ethan and Cutler both pick up kills to trade that back, though, after Bolts finds FNS. And now it's only 2 remaining for the CT side, both of which are on that B site too. But they do realize where Kusta's hiding out at, so they battle their way back in, at least to the connector. But they also still have to get out onto the site, which is really going to be the big issue. The good news is the bomb has not been planted yet, so they still have plenty of time to accomplish this. And as they go in, they knock out Ethan as he tries to wide swing there from heaven. He's not going to be able to take out even one of these 2 players, so it still remains an even fight, especially since both teams relatively close gun power here. Ricky is going to try to do what he can with that deagle from the backside, but he ends up going down. Cutler comes out on top. The problem is he can't actively defend the bomb from here, so he's going to try to play it close with the CZ, but Destiny swings out into the open, shutting down Cutler and winning it for the Immortals.
Cutler kind of guffed that in the 1v1. I don't like to be critical of like individual decisions in a 1v1, but I think considering the position he was in, he used a few bullets. He wouldn't have had time to reload. His best bet was to try to fight over that ridge, or over the the wall there.
Yeah.
That was for a headshot angle. He knows also that Destiny can't cross the site. He realizes that he can't run back that far, so Destiny's almost certainly going to push him. And still, he kind of let him. He gave him that wide open angle on the right side. So, you know, usually not too critical, but I think there he could have played that 1v1 better. But up until that point, what was cool is CLG did something that's pretty standard, but a lot of teams should realize to do is like when you get that opening kill and you're like coming out with a strategy like a split or something like that, sometimes it's good to hold your position for just a little bit, let the other team cool off, let the rotate settle down so they're not overreacting. Sometimes they'll even rotate, over-rotate to the other side when they see that you've taken some time, and then you go ahead with the split. Now, CLG ended up losing the round, but they also didn't have very good guns, so I think got a lot out of it for what they had.
Yeah, and it's enough to justify another force buy here to the 4th round here. Same justification behind it as the previous round. Since Immortals do survive with only one player, their money is still in the dumps. They will be immediately broken if they lose this round with no saves. So CLG does find justification in that to try and force and hopefully win out this round this time now to try and push themselves into 13 and just inch closer towards 6 seeds as they still have double the scoreline of what Immortals have currently here. And it is going to be a straightforward B hit this time. The CTs have plenty more utility. Try and throw out as they go in. FNS, it's a close fight, but he does win it against SHZ, giving them the 5v4 advantage to start. Problem is, they didn't leave anybody out in the A courtyard, so Zach is going to be free to push into these steps. Ethan kind of checks it, but doesn't realize it's Zach sitting in that corner. So he gets 1, 2, tries to go for 3, knocks about half of Koos's HP. FNS is now going to get finished off 2. Quickly, the tables turn, and it's now Immortals that are back into an advantage situation. As Koos is going to quickly move out, messes up the smoke. Way too big of a bounce there. Tries to cross, but doesn't realize that Bolts is also sitting up on top of the shed. And it seems like this is going to be a quick end to them this time. Cutler does spot the player that just took down his teammate, but upon trying to go for the door peek, Destiny swings out and takes him down anyway.
I hate this map, man. Why is that smoke so hard to throw? It's just annoying. You never have a good angle of it coming out of lower A. You've got to really like go out wide to throw it on the run. You can definitely mess that up a lot. But but it was kind of an interesting round. I wonder what happened there with FNS, and I think it was SHZ, because he pushed into the drop with the smoke and E-box and seemed fairly confident that there'd be someone there, right? He was like, cleared that angle pretty hard, even though there's only a small crack in it. And I think maybe SSG has used that play before or something like that. But it seemed like FNS was really calling him out with the CZ. Now we move into round 19. And CLG, not much money, did a little bit of damage last round. Immortals not breaking the bank here, and Bolts, very important kills. Oh, 3 of them. Wow, didn't think you'd get those.
And now Zach's going to be here to support. FNS does trade at least 1, but SHZ coming up the backside quickly swings it off on Immortals. With a very important close out there to make sure that they take it in a clean fashion too, considering that they were struggling to build up their money before. But that's going to change now as they get through this round with minimal casualties. Only 1 player going down that time. So nicely done from them. And this will take us into what I think is going to be the first real gun round of this half, since CLG can finally rebuy. And they get the op behind it and everything too, so they'll be at full power for this round.
Yes, everything they need for sure. So this is going to be a really important one. Definitely defines a half for Immortals. It can either denote like some kind of comeback or at least a potential comeback, whereas for CLG it can really just be like one of the final nails in the coffin, considering Immortals will maybe have to save after this if they lose. So critically important for CLG that they at very least do a lot of damage. Immortals, however, can't settle for anything but a round win.
Still slowly played across the board here from both teams.
So strategically, like everybody's a little bit low on utility, but as a terrorist, you are offered up the ability to try to bait out utility as much as possible. So with just a couple of smokes, like a Olaf smoke can always turn over way more CT nades than T nades. You can fake, and that's something that can be very powerful here, especially if you want to do something late round where you start running or something dry.
Ethan's going to move in first and instantly is able to take down Zach. Nicely found there. That should send, I believe it's Bolts playing towards the other side of A-Long. He's going to go back to the platform. And joining him is going to be SHZ, who quickly rotates over. So they just go for the quick 2-2 split here now after they lose their first player. However, CLG are very much going all in on the A site, so Immortals are going to have to quickly rotate their own players in. As they move in, it takes them a moment, but they actually don't really spot that CT quickly enough. And now Bolts, sitting in this position, is freely allowed to just get 2 kills. Now 3 for himself. And so quickly, the entire CLG push just melts before Immortals, as they just can't find anything in terms of actual entries onto that site.
I'll never get how people get so many frags from cannons. It's not a bad angle, right? But you don't have anything to work with once you're spotted. So like, if you mess up your first spray, like you should be dead. If you get hard cleared, you should be dead. It's usually like a bonus spot though you play if you have like an extra couple of people in the site. It's not something you play by yourself because you can't get away, right? But because they had 2 people on rotate, Bolts is in this like bonus spot and then ends up getting 3K for it. So that's super sick. Obviously, recoil control from him. We saw that same display of skill in that previous round at Long A, so maybe I'm not surprised, but still, incredible stuff.
And so now CLG forced onto another kind of half buy here. Oh, all right, there's Ethan, finally showing up again in this half, as he's going to be able to take down Destiny nice and quick there by the broken wall. Gives CLG an advantage, but this has been the problem for the rest of this half so far, is now how are they going to play off this?
Why is anyone going to use a revolver when you can't get 1-deeks with a revolver?
It's true.
Right? That's the main problem with it.
That is just a terrible gun now.
That also. Making every gun viable is cool, I suppose, but it's maybe a noble cause for people, like the few people who do like a revolver or whatever. But for the most part, it's like you're never going to get them equally used because some people just don't like the aesthetic or don't like the, like me, like I don't like the revolver. Like I don't like dualies. I don't like. So it doesn't matter.
I like dualies.
And that's, you know,
every once in a while.
I support that, you know what I mean?
So CLG are going to push themselves up. Bolts, he's ready to defend this, but unfortunately doesn't expect Ethan to get in his face so quickly. He's going to trade that out. Zach trying to swing, but Kusta's going to P250 to throw right in his face. Kusta is also stuck in the open, somehow survives that, but Ricky will go down with the bomb, and now it's just Kusta here. Ethan does have a close angle to play off from Shed. He's going to get flashed out, and yeah, SHZ, not really too surprising that he finds Kusta there. It's up to Ethan, but he looked away at the wrong moment, so SHZ takes him down, and now Immortals are in double digits, just 2 rounds behind CLG.
I want you to start saying Ricky the way that he wanted his name to be said, as if it was a name from South Park, right?
What?
Ricky.
Yeah, but that's like... See, this is like the Azzer thing, where it's like...
Yeah,
but that's
There's
like...
no other way to say it. First of all, it sounds way better.
But that's just saying it with an Australian accent, is what that is.
Okay, I'll tell you right now, Ricky is not a name in Australia. It's specifically designed to be pronounced differently. Otherwise, it would just be Ricky.
I suppose. All right, yeah, saying Ricky.
All right, you agree?
Like
so you're gonna start it.
That part. But it is still just saying it with an accent.
Yeah.
Which
but
is
yeah,
like,
it's like he gave you the, it's like they gave you the phonetic definition.
Yeah, yeah.
He helped you out.
I blame the stuff nose. I
Meet him halfway.
I can't enunciate it as well right now. That's my problem.
Oh yeah, poor Blue is under the weather.
It's fine. But moving into this next round here now, we do see CLG try to push back in again towards A since it went so well on the last round. Well, sort of did anyway. And now with guns in hand, hopefully they can fare a little bit better. For whatever reason, though, Immortals were tricking and using quite a bit of their utility. They're down to just 2 smokes already. And I think only one of them remains over towards A here, so they were able to fish out quite a bit early on. And they still have 50 seconds left, too, so they can wait out, you know, these 2 other smokes. In fact, one of the other ones just got used. Yep, there they go. They're all completely out of smokes now on Immortals' side. So they can just wait these out, set up their own smokes, and then just go into the site, and it's going to be relatively open.
Yeah, if they've spent any time counting nades, like they should have a good idea of like how many have been used at long. Though they just did something crazy and like try to retake long B, having Kusta jump out with the op through a flash, or with a flash. But yeah, they're gonna have a big advantage in this next feud. Oh.
Rick A up first here as he moves in. He's going to be able to take down Steel. Kusta strikes second, but now SHZ responds. However, he'll very quickly be taken down by Cutler as Bolts. He's also going to be behind the Shed here. He finds one for himself, trying to hold it back. Zach doesn't realize there's still one player on the windowsill, though, so FNS comes in, but Bolts, he's keeping it alive here for Immortals. He is alone. He's trying to lay this spam through the coop, though. He's now very low, 18 HP. Got to dance a little bit, but ultimately the nade from FNS closes out for CLG as they finally pick up a round here in this second half.
Oh, that got so close. But yeah, you can see FNS did all the work there with the damage through the chicken coop, and then the final grenade to fly over, finish him off. But yeah, critical round that CLG won just there. And just as you pointed out, they did a great job of like running the CT's drives in terms of utility. And it seemed like at a certain point they were just throwing utility just to throw it, because CLG weren't even really trying to bait it out. The last thing they did was splash themselves into long B, kind of late, but they delayed long enough that they had plenty of time to plant, but also be able to throw a full execute if they needed to. Oh, that's a rip.
So
that's actually kind of a big deal, you know.
Yeah, I mean, now they can just walk right down into the site here now, and Destiny's going to have to try to hold this off. But look, Kusta is looking, realize that they messed up the smoke here too, or should realize this now. It's also a great flash, completely blinds the boost-up player, but he's still able to get at least one kill. That's from Kusta there, but Kusta now comes in and takes back 2 more right after that. So far, he's about to just casually ace this round here. Cutler will steal that from him, though, as he misses the shot on bolts. And for Zach, well, he's stuck on the outside. Mid-courier, not really a whole lot that he can do. It's going to be CLG's round as they go up to 14.
What kind of hack is it that Kusta has that they just walk into his crosshair? They follow it, they go to him, as opposed to he goes to them.
It's a mind control hack.
Yeah, it's a mind control. Yeah, he's an influencer. But that's just a really good sign that he's smart, right? That he's picking all the right angles to hold on to, being very patient, and also is quick. And that's how you get to the higher 20s, is you're hitting all your flicks as well as doing all the smart angle holds. Ends that round with 1 HP, 3 kills. And yeah, definitely a team on his back right now. So this is good, just like very patient. Trades this frag, which is kind of difficult. Actually falls, like notices this tree and then has to flick. They could have easily missed that shot. No one would have noticed in there. Capitalized on Shiz as well.
So Immortals going into this very important round here, unfortunately, aren't going to have the best buy. 2 Deagles, 2 UMPs, and 1 single rifle. They do have a lot of utility, which was something that obviously they kind of threw away quite a bit last time, even though they were limited to a certain degree on it. But hopefully, with a little bit more now in the picture, they could properly hold back CLG this time around here and maybe not mess up that broken wall smoke.
Flash goes over long B. Control is retained. Destiny doesn't miss a smoke of his own this round, so they know they don't have to deal with a walkout. It's quite unfortunate they have to think back to the last round and think, we directly lost because I just bounced the smoke wrong off the wall. The setup is kind of aggressive for Immortals, who kind of want to play as many close spots as possible considering the guns they have. Giving up A in this situation wouldn't really make sense, especially CLG. Give them opportunity in their default to get kills. Kusta going to be pushing up slowly with his op, and it's so good that he can be aggressive and they can rely on him to do that, but then also get kills. It's a lot of relief for his teammates. It also makes him very useful.
He's not going to be the first into the fire, however, as FNS and another player sitting inside of Suicide are actually going to be the first ones to push back out. Still a 2-man team set up to defend this Immortals with a lot of focus on A-Long, and it's a good thing they have it too, but now they start pulling their players back because there is going to be a little bit of pressure coming out through platform, and unfortunately, both of them go down. Steel will trade onto one, and he's quickly trying to run himself away here. They're going to know he's over on this side of the map. As the flash comes out, Cutler is going to be kind of alone, actually, as his teammates just kind of leave him there to fight. So that's a bit unfortunate, and that allows for an even trade. Now brings it down to a 3v3, but Ethan, with a walkout onto B, suddenly opens a new light here for CLG, and that's going to be their one saving grace this round. They'll try to work towards here, as he also shuts down Destiny that tries to go for the quick rotate, and after he gets that kill, pops off the smoke, make sure that they can quickly walk back in and plant this bomb with a couple seconds left to spare.
This is the huge value of having a lurk. Even like a hard lurk that they know there's someone there, as long as they can't kill that person, they create so much value for a team that's like potentially going but needs to make a quick adjustment, go to the other site, because it should never take you 5 players to take a site, right? So that means that one player could be of so much value if they can give you an option later in the round if you weren't getting away with your execute. And that's what Ethan did there. Played that kind of almost exactly like Happy would, and just led into B as his teammates fell apart at A. And even though Immortals did a great job on recovering after, Steel delayed that lower ramp, got that first kill and the second one off of the trade, it still made it very difficult because Immortals rotated completely out of the other side of the map.
And so CLG will push forward here up to map point, and you can see some of the frag leaders there for CLG too on the scoreboard. Kusta and Ethan both over 20 kills now. Kusta with 2 more, hitting the 30 bomb in regulation. So we'll see if he's able to do that on this round, assuming that CLG win it, of course. But for Immortals, they now have to run 5 rounds straight just to take this to OT. They do force anyway. They get a little bit of a better buy than they had on the last round here. Still sitting with Zach on a deagle, but for the rest, at the very least, will be able to afford rifles this time, primarily because they were able to steal quite a few of those guns in the last round and save them.
That is the one thing they have going for them. So still should be not so bad for CLG. They have been getting away with pretty much everything so far, which is cool to watch. And even though Immortals might be completely in shambles at the moment, still a bunch of really good players.
Destiny probably going to be one of the first players to jump into combat here. Either him or Zach, but Zach, well, he's backed up quite a bit outside of that mid connector here, away from all of the action. So probably going to be looking at that B site for them to strike first. CLG really just trying to throw them off, hopefully get a few players to rotate over here. And they might get at least one of them. SHZ starting to move just a tad towards mid-connector, getting in position at the very least, so that in the event we do see the push, they can start to punish that. Meanwhile, we'll see Immortals actually get quite aggressive here. Their own push coming back in, and Ricky's going to be alarmed to this, so he knows they're going in. It's a very messy spray, but he makes it work. And Ethan from further back also hits that kill. That could have gone very bad very quickly, though, if Ricky messed that up. But thankfully, he closes out, gets the kill. And his teammate also shows up with 1-2, so a nice 5v3 start for these guys. And they're just going to line up for a direct push inside. They have no reason to fear, even though all 3 remaining members of Immortals are also stacked here.
Yeah, I mean, technically, Immortals have a greater chance of winning this round just off this speedhold as they do, because all their players are in one spot. So even though they got those 2 kills, it almost doesn't matter. As
they leap in, there's some good movement there from Ethan as he swings around, lands on the ground before even firing back at SHZ. But it will cost him most of his health pool, as it gives Zach the opportunity to trade bolts for the same thing for him. But Kosta and Cutler shut it down with 2 more kills to close it out. And that will seal the deal here for the guys on CLG as they take control over map number 1 with a final score of 16-10 here on the first map.
Commanding performance. It looked like they would have won that game if they played it 100 times, even though Immortals did win a bunch of the rounds. I think on that final round we saw like kind of a sloppy attempt at long B control. It was nice that they had the idea to try to do it, but completely forgot about Ricky. Ricky gave him a ton of time to go ahead and win that duel. So I think overall, like, CLG looking very solid right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have to see how that carries over into map 2. But before we get to that, we're going to send it over to our analysts who will break down map number 1.
That's right. 16-10 going in the way of CLG. And I don't want to say that Uatoda so, but Uatoda so.
Yeah, he 1 round off, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really good to talk about predictions when you're successful, right? As if anyone really knows what's going to happen. So.
No, but one thing for me, though, is that first half, honestly, was a lot closer than it looked. It ended at 11-4, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think without, well, obviously pistol round could go either way, but like multiple of those gun rounds were very close.
Yeah, it was kind of like a tale of the narrative of, like, you know, CLG having the teamwork on CT side to hold things correctly, and then Immortals having a good approach, right? They kind of have like the right concepts, but since the fact that they haven't been together long enough, none of, like, kind of the things they were doing weren't working as well as they could have, right? It was a good idea, but the timings and things are a little off.
Well, I mean, not to mention, you know, we've got the timeline of this roster, so to say. Then you've got Zach standing in. Probably not their most optimal fit in terms of going into this matchup. Didn't do too terrible. Didn't do bad. But you look at those variables, and that can create a mess. Let's take a look, though, at our first replay right now. We do have loaded up. It's round number 6. Should be a failure to B-pop.
Yeah, so this kind of plays back into what we're saying on this map, how it could go either way with some of these rounds. And this is kind of actually what I was just talking about. So we see here a good flash. It actually gets Kusta, but Nate is able to turn around and get to frag, open up some time for Kusta to hit those sweet shots. Kusta does a great job hitting those shots. But really, that was kind of my point, is that if Nate got a little bit more blind and he didn't get those kills, Immortals could win that round easily. And that's what I was saying inherently about Cbble. It allows for something like that to happen, where I think Train will be even more in CLG's favor. But great shots, obviously, by Nate and Kusta, but it just shows how the simplicity can go either way. It literally was a 50-50.
I think if the timing of that guy jumping out was earlier, right? Because Ethan did get blind for a little bit, but I think the guy landed right as he was getting unblind.
Yeah.
So just the small things.
It's just the little things that all add up and make one big match that, again, someone wins, and that's how the game works.
I like it when you say the word big.
Big. Big.
Yeah.
You know what? How about a big replay here? We're going to go into our next one, and I do believe it's round 7. It's a double injury.
Yeah, so this is kind of going along with the narrative of Immortals still has the individual skill to win maps, right? Regardless of kind of like all of these different, you know, roster changes. We see Destiny here with one of the 2 AKs. He gets a sick entry on Kusta, and then he gets another entry on Cutler, right? So, like, how often do you see somebody, you know, get a double entry on a guy with an AWP and somebody with an M4, and none of those entries were supported by significant nade usage, right? Like, that's just him running in. Hey, I'm just gonna headshot you. What's up, man?
Come on in. Water's water.
Yeah. Well, I think, like we said, it's another one of those maps where you could just kind of walk up a hall. So that was a contrast to our B-pop last round. They were able to literally walk a hall. There's no big strategic plan there. They have one smoke, I think, to throw
for the door
or connector door. and they're able to win the round. So I think Cbble is like that, Cash is like that. There's not too many maps like that, though.
Yeah.
That favor that simplicity. So.
And it probably would have looked like, oh, man, what are they trying to do? Like, if they didn't win that round, if Kusta opt the first guy, you know, Cutler gets the second guy, and then Kusta comes out and gets the third, it's like, man, their approach is so dumb, right? Like, that's one of the things you would see. It's like, oh, they have, like,
Immortals has no
what are they
strats.
doing, right? But it's like, I don't know about that.
Again, let's look at another failure to be pop here, because I believe that that's plagued just a little bit throughout the duration.
Well, here they had initially taken a default, which was pretty good. So they kept the CTs in a 2-3 setup. So this is actually more playing into CLG's cohesion and showing a little bit about. Actually, no, this is not the same round I was thinking of, but this is still playing into CLG's cohesion. The fact that they only have 3 guys there, they're able to kind of show that, hey, look it, we have a setup. It's tried, tested. Ricky gets that first shot. Nate, I think, ends it with a triple kill. So that's, again, where the simplicity just kind of favors the team who has a little bit more preparation and a little bit more routine.
Yeah, and again, the flash was early, right? So.
Flash early, Nate wasn't blind. So.
Well, you know what? Regardless, we can look at round 17 now. Steel, I believe, stepping out huge.
This is the chance they had to make the comeback. And Brazilians, I feel like they thrive off these moments where if you lose this round, they're going to get 16-4. If they win it, they get that, caralho, you know, they start getting going, they get loud. Steel, from the same position James IRL got his big multi-frag the other day, stands here with 1 bullet left, pop, takes a shot, brilliantly navigates himself around the cube here. And me and Marcus will talk about this. This is insane to stay alive, huh?
Yeah, like his movement and just he's kind of feeling the match, right? He knows he gets spotted places, and now he has the presence of mind to stay alive and grab the AK-47. It's just, I think he ends up, yeah, so Bolt ends up clutching this round, and he's standing in a Molotov as he kills Ethan. And after this, we're going to see it from another angle that makes it even look funnier as he plays Ring Around Rosie on the cube.
Yeah.
Right, well, so like he just like plays it perfectly. I just love the movement.
Super aware of how they're moving. Great shot right there on Cutler.
Like what? Like look at Nati like barely misses him on all of the angles. Like this is such a lucky round, right? So if he did not get that 4K with the CZ and move perfectly, this match would have probably been over, and we'd already be in the next match.
Well, I mean, we talk about this 4K and what it could have done for that team, and I think ultimately the word we're looking for is zeal. Right, so to become like zealous and run off the backwards part of that is ultimately like the big picture right there.
Yeah, your vast vocabulary is actually like turning me on right now, so you might need to settle down.
I googled that one mid-segment, but regardless, we do see the matchup there on Cbble go in the way of Counter Logic Gaming. We're going to be jumping into Train next, and which, I mean, I guess we looking for the same sort of style here. We looking at the same sort of outcome. Is this a Immortals that are fresh in?
I still think CLG has this map. I said that from the get-go. I think if Immortals wants to win this, they got to get a little bit of luck on their side. Maybe both pistols.
You know, it's another point to make about Train too. Is like I remember after that map, you're like James, I don't even think I saw the op come out for Immortals, right? Like yeah, if it did, like it was so few and far between that it's like I don't even remember it almost.
Who's gonna pick it up?
And that is the exact opposite of what we've seen of their brand in the past, right? So in Train is like one of those maps where everyone's, you know, always parroting like, oh, those long angles are great for ops, right? So let's hope that they can figure out who's gonna opt for them if they are.
I agree.
Well, we are, like I said, we're going into Train next. It's going to be Immortals Counter Logic Gaming. But again, we did go over Train beforehand with Launders and Boxer in that video that was put together. Really well thought out, really well put together. Make sure you head over and watch that. I believe you can find it on the Boxer channel, but I could
on YouTube.
It's definitely Team Boxer on Twitter, but it's certainly probably floating around on Reddit by this time. Either way, we're gonna go to a quick break. When we come back, we're jumping into Train, so you better be there.